The voicemail played again, Chloe's broken sobs piercing through my car's speakers. Aunt Everly, I'm at your house. Mommy left me here. Please come home. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The timestamp showed 43 minutes ago. I slammed the accelerator, weaving through traffic like a maniac. The text from my sister Megan still burned in my mind. Left Chloe at your place. Need to figure things out. Watch her for a few days. A few days, as if her 7-year-old daughter was a houseplant she could drop off at someone's doorstep. I'm Everly, and this wasn't the first time my sister had pulled something like this, but it would definitely be the last. My tires screeched as I turned onto my street. There she was, my little niece, curled up on my front porch steps, her pink backpack clutched to her chest like a shield. The sight of her there, alone, made something snap inside me. Chloe, I called out, barely putting the car in park before jumping out. She lifted her tear-stained face, and my heart shattered. I'm sorry, she whispered as I wrapped her in my arms. Mommy said you'd be home. How long have you been waiting, sweetheart? Since after lunch. I counted all the cars that drove by, 73. I pulled back, studying her face. Her glasses were smudged with tears, and her dark hair had come loose from its braids. Are you hungry? Cold? She shook her head, then nodded, then shrugged. I had to pee really bad, but I didn't want to leave in case you came. The rage building inside me threatened to explode. I fumbled with my keys, ushering her inside. Let's get you to the bathroom, then we'll have something to eat. While Chloe was in the bathroom, I fired off a text to my husband, David. Megan dumped Chloe at our house. Coming home early? His response was immediate. What the actual hell? On my way. I was heating up leftover lasagna when my phone rang. Megan's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Look, I know you're probably pissed, but Liam has this huge academic competition coming up, and Tom and I need to focus on getting him ready. Chloe she just gets in the way. You know how she is. Always needing attention, always struggling with everything. It's just for a little while. The microwave dinged. I stabbed the delete button with such force my nail bent backward. Chloe appeared in the kitchen doorway, her face freshly washed but her eyes still red. Is that Mommy? Is she coming back? No, honey, not right now. Come eat something. She climbed onto a bar stool, her legs dangling. Did I do something wrong? Absolutely not. I set the plate in front of her, fighting to keep my voice steady. Nothing about this is your fault. But Mommy said if I was more like Liam. Stop. The word came out sharper than I intended, making her flinch. I softened my tone. You are perfect exactly as you are. David arrived home just as Chloe was finishing her food. He took one look at her, then at me, and I saw the same fury in his eyes that I felt in my gut. Hey, kiddo, he said, ruffling her hair. Emma's gonna be so excited for a sleepover when she gets back from Grandma's tomorrow. Chloe's face brightened slightly. Really? Really, really. He caught my eye. Why don't you go pick out a movie while I talk to Aunt Everly? Once she was out of earshot, David pulled me into a tight embrace. What are we going to do? I buried my face in his chest, letting out a shaky breath. We're going to protect her, and then we're going to make my sister realize exactly what she's throwing away. From the living room, we heard Chloe's small voice. Can we watch Frozen? Of course we can, sweetheart, I called back, pulling away from David. Whatever you want. Whatever you want, because God knows you've never had that choice before. But things were about to change. Megan had no idea what she'd just set in motion. The memory hit me like a freight train as I watched Chloe sleep on our couch. Last Thanksgiving, the moment I should have seen this coming, Megan had paraded Liam around the dinner table like a show pony, practically glowing as he recited the periodic table from memory. He's already studying high school chemistry, she'd bragged, her hand possessively gripping his shoulder. His teacher says he could skip 2 grades. Meanwhile, Chloe sat at the far end, pushing food around her plate, invisible. Until she wasn't. I drew a picture in art class, she'd said softly, pulling a folded paper from her pocket. Mrs. Henderson said it was really good. Tom had barely glanced up from his phone. That's nice, honey. Liam, tell everyone about your science fair project? I'd watched Chloe's small fingers crumple the drawing's edge, her eyes dropping to her lap. The same defeated posture she had now, even in sleep. My phone buzzed. Megan again. This time, I answered. Finally, she snapped. I've been trying to reach you all evening. Funny, that's exactly how long your daughter was sitting alone on my porch. Don't start, Everly. You have no idea what it's like. What's like? Having a child who needs actual parenting instead of just bragging rights? Silence crackled between us. Then, we're coming to pick her up tomorrow. Liam's competition is next week, and we need to focus. No. Excuse me? I said no, you don't get to treat her like a rental car you can return when it's convenient. She's my daughter. Is she? Because from where I'm standing, she's just an inconvenience you'd rather not deal with. David appeared in the doorway, his expression concerned. I waved him off, stepping onto the back porch. You've always been jealous, Megan hissed. Jealous that Liam's gifted, that Tom and I have. Have what? A perfect little family for your Christmas cards. Tell me, does your country club know you abandoned your 7-year-old today? Another silence. This one darker. You wouldn't dare. Try me. You know what your problem is, Megan? You're so obsessed with having the perfect life. You can't see the damage you're doing. Chloe doesn't need fixing. She needs parents who give a damn. We give her everything. Everything except love. The words tasted bitter. You want to know what she asked me today? If she did something wrong? A 7-year-old thinking she's somehow responsible for her mother dumping her like unwanted baggage. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, but I'm making it fairer starting now. Chloe stays here until you and Tom get your priorities straight. You can't do that. Watch me. I ended the call, my hands shaking. David's arms wrapped around me from behind. You okay? No. I leaned back against him. You should have seen her face when she showed that drawing, David, like she already knew they wouldn't care, but she had to try anyway. I remember. He turned me to face him. I also remember you hanging that drawing on our fridge when she wasn't looking. A sound from the doorway made us both turn. Chloe stood there in her borrowed pajamas, clutching the stuffed elephant Emma had insisted she take. Is Mommy mad at me? I crossed to her, kneeling down. No, sweetheart. Mommy's mad at me because I told her some things she needed to hear. She nodded, too used to adult conflicts happening over her head. Can I stay here? Just for a little while? As long as you need to. I smoothed her hair back. Want to help me make pancakes for breakfast tomorrow? Emma's coming home, and she loves when we add chocolate chips. A tiny smile, like a crack of light through storm clouds. Can we make shapes? Any shape you want. I glanced at David, who nodded slightly. We'd figure out the legal stuff later. Right now, this little girl needed to know she mattered. Even dinosaurs? Especially dinosaurs. I took her hand. Though, fair warning, mine usually end up looking more like blob monsters. She actually giggled, and the sound was worth whatever storm Megan would try to rain down on us tomorrow. My sister wanted a war? Fine, but she'd better be ready for one hell of a fight. The doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. Emma had just tackled Chloe with a welcome home hug, pancake batter still dotting their pajamas. I knew before I opened the door, some things you feel in your gut. Megan stood there, perfectly coiffed in her tennis whites. Tom loomed behind her, his face set in that practice-neutral expression he used for board meetings. We're here for Chloe, Megan announced, trying to peer past me. She's eating breakfast. Perfect, she can finish at home. Liam has a practice session with his academic coach in an hour. The casual cruelty of it struck me speechless. Behind me, I heard the girls' laughter from the kitchen, the clatter of plates as David served more pancakes. No, I said finally. Tom stepped forward. This isn't a negotiation, Everly. She's our daughter. Really? Because I have some interesting text messages that suggest otherwise. I pulled out my phone. Let's see. Chloe just gets in the way. That's from yesterday. Oh, and here's one from last week. Can you take her Thursday? Parent-teacher conference for Liam? Megan's face flushed. You're twisting things. The school called me. I cut in. Did you know that? They've been trying to reach you for weeks about Chloe's progress. Apparently, she's been coming to class hungry, missing assignments. Where were you, Megan? At Liam's advanced placement meetings, Tom answered, his corporate mask slipping. Which you'd understand if you had a gifted child. Something snapped inside me. I have two gifted children in my kitchen right now. One of them just happens to be yours. Don't be ridiculous, Megan scoffed. We've had her tested. The doctors said, the doctors said she processes things differently, not that she's worth less than your precious prodigy. A small voice behind me. Mommy? We all turned. Chloe stood there, syrup on her chin, Emma hovering protectively beside her. The sight of them together, one child secure in her worth, the other still learning she had any, made my decision crystallize. Go back to breakfast, girls, I said gently. David's making dinosaur shapes. But, Chloe started, it's okay, sweetheart, I promise. They retreated, Emma's arm around her cousin's shoulders. I faced my sister and brother-in-law. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. I'm calling Child Protective Services. I have documentation of neglect stretching back months, text messages, school records, witnesses who've seen you leave her alone for hours. The color drained from Megan's face. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Or we can handle this another way. Chloe stays here until you both get your act together. Real therapy, family and individual, regular visits with actual engagement, and you start treating her like she matters. This is absurd, Tom sputtered. We're her parents. Then start acting like it. I pulled out my phone. Your choice, CPS or cooperation, decide now. They exchanged glances. I could see the calculations happening. Their reputations, their social standing, the gossip that would follow a CPS investigation. Fine, Megan spat. Temporary custody, but this isn't over. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. And Megan, next time you want to dump your kids somewhere, remember I keep receipts. They left without saying goodbye to Chloe. I watched their luxury SUV pull away, my hands shaking with delayed rage. In the kitchen, I found David already on his laptop, researching family lawyers. The girls were giggling over a particularly misshapen pancake. Look, Aunt Everly, Chloe held up her plate. Emma says this one looks like a T-Rex. Definitely a T-Rex, I confirmed, dropping a kiss on her head. Very fierce. David caught my eye. Everything okay? I watched Chloe show Emma how to make her pancake roar, complete with sound effects. For the first time since she'd started staying with us, her shoulders weren't hunched with tension. It will be, I said. One way or another, because some battles are worth fighting, even if you have to burn bridges to win them. And some children are worth saving, even from their own parents, especially from their own parents. Mother's antique clock ticked away in her living room as I watched her read through the texts from Megan. Each swipe of her finger made her frown deepen. Well, Nancy said finally, setting down her phone. I always knew Megan was headstrong, but this... She removed her reading glasses. Have you told her about the adoption plans? Not yet. I traced the rim of my untouched tea. David's meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. And you're sure about this? Taking on another child permanently? The question hung between us like smoke. Through the window, I could see Chloe and Emma in the backyard, building what they claimed was a fairy house out of twigs and leaves. 2 weeks had passed since the confrontation with Megan, and Chloe's nightmares had finally stopped. I found something yesterday, I said, while doing Chloe's laundry. I pulled out my phone, showing Mother the photo I'd taken. These were in her jacket pocket. Mother squinted at the screen, a handful of crushed granola bars, some still in their wrappers, others reduced to crumbs. She's been hoarding food, I continued. David caught her trying to hide pancakes in her pillowcase this morning. Oh, Lord, Mother pressed her hand to her mouth. How long has this been going on? The school counselor says it's common in neglected children. They never know when their next meal is coming, so they... I couldn't finish. A crash from outside made us both jump. We rushed to the window, but it was just Emma, apologizing profusely for knocking over their fairy house. Chloe was already gathering the scattered twigs, telling her cousin it was okay. They could build a better one. She's different with Emma, Mother observed, more confident. Because Emma treats her like a person, not an inconvenience. I turned from the window. But there's something else, something worse. Mother waited as I pulled out another photo, a crumpled drawing I'd found hidden under Chloe's mattress. Stick figures of a family, a tall man, a woman, a boy with a trophy, and a small figure drawn in black, standing apart from the others. Look at the words, I said quietly. Mother adjusted her glasses. Above each figure, in a child's unsteady writing, Daddy, important. Mommy, busy. Liam, special. And over the black figure, me, wrong. I'm going to kill her, Mother whispered. And I'd never heard her voice so cold. I'm going to kill my own daughter. Get in line. I took back the drawing. But first, I need your help. The lawyer says we need character witnesses, documentation of Megan's neglect. You've seen more than anyone. You know what this will do to the family? This family was broken the moment Megan decided her daughter wasn't worth loving. Mother's grandfather clock chimed the hour, making us both start. Outside, the girls had abandoned their fairy house and were now chasing butterflies, their laughter floating through the window. Do you remember, Mother said slowly, when Megan was born? How you used to follow her around, trying to help take care of her? You were only 2, but you were already such a protector. Mother, let me finish. She stood, crossing to her writing desk. I've been keeping something. Call it a mother's intuition, or maybe just experience. She withdrew a thick envelope. I've been documenting things, dates, incidents, photographs. Times Megan left Chloe here without warning. Occasions when she forgot to pick her up. The birthday party she missed because of Liam's science fair. My hands shook as I took the envelope. How long? 2 years. Mother's voice was steel. I knew someday someone would need to step in. I just didn't know it would be you. A squeal of delight drew our attention back to the window. Emma had caught a butterfly, carefully showing Chloe how to look at it without touching its wings. The sun caught Chloe's smile, real, unguarded, free. She deserves better, I said. Yes, Mother squeezed my shoulder. And we're going to make sure she gets it. The clock ticked on, marking time between what was and what would be. Outside, 2 little girls chased butterflies, one of them learning, minute by minute, that she wasn't wrong after all. She was just waiting to be right. The custody hearing notice arrived on a Tuesday. I stared at the official letterhead while David paced behind me, his footsteps echoing in our suddenly too small kitchen. They're claiming parental alienation, I said, the words tasting like ash. Megan's telling the court I manipulated Chloe against them. That's ridiculous. They have character witnesses, other parents from Liam's advanced programs, their country club friends. I dropped the papers. All testifying how devoted Megan and Tom are to their children. A muffled thump from upstairs made us both freeze. Then Emma's voice. Sorry, we're just building a blanket fort. David stopped pacing. They're requesting immediate return? Within 48 hours. My fingers traced the court seal. And supervised visits only for us afterward. The doorbell rang, sharp and demanding. Through the front window, I saw Tom's Mercedes in our driveway. Alone. Get the girls upstairs, I said. All the way upstairs? David hesitated only a moment before climbing the stairs. I heard him telling them it was secret fort inspection time, his voice deliberately light. I opened the door. Tom stood there in his tailored suit, looking every inch the successful finance executive he portrayed to the world. We can end this quietly, he said without preamble. No courts, no publicity. You mean no evidence? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Megan's devastated. She's had to increase her anxiety medication. Funny how Chloe's nightmares don't seem to concern you? Don't be dramatic. Children are resilient. Is that what you tell yourself when you ignore her? He stepped closer, dropping his voice. Think carefully, Everly. I have friends in family court. Judges who understand the importance of keeping families together. How do you think it'll look? You trying to steal your sister's child? About as good as the photos of Chloe's empty lunch account, or the school counselor's reports, or the security footage of her sitting alone outside her dance class for 2 hours because you and Megan forgot to pick her up. His facade cracked just slightly. Where did you? I've been documenting everything. For years. Every missed pickup, every emergency drop-off, every time you chose Liam's science fair over Chloe's parent-teacher conference. I met his gaze. Everything. You're bluffing. Try me. I wonder what your firm would think about a partner who neglects his child. Or your country club friends when they see the evidence laid out in court. You wouldn't dare. Daddy? We both turned. Liam stood on the sidewalk, his backpack clutched tight. I hadn't even noticed him in the car. Go back to the car, son, Tom said sharply, but Liam didn't move. Is Chloe here? Can I see her? Not now. Please? She wasn't at my competition last week. I got first place and she always makes me cards when. Liam! Car, now! The boy flinched at his father's tone and something clicked into place. I watched him shuffle back to the Mercedes, shoulders hunched in a posture I'd seen too often on his sister. You're doing it to him too, aren't you? I said softly. Just differently. He's not your son. He's your trophy. Tom's expression hardened. You have no idea what you're talking about, don't I? Tell me, what happens when he stops winning? When the pressure gets too much? Will you abandon him too? You have 24 hours to return, Chloe, he said, but I caught the tremor in his voice. Or we'll let the courts decide. Perfect. I look forward to showing them everything. I stepped back. Give Megan my love. I closed the door on his reply, waiting until I heard the car drive away before letting my hands shake. Upstairs, I found David and the girls in Emma's room, their blanket fort a masterpiece of engineering. Chloe was teaching Emma a clapping game, their laughter a counterpoint to the tension still thrumming through my body. Everything okay? David asked quietly. I watched Chloe, her face animated as she corrected Emma's rhythm. No trace of the frightened child who'd hoarded food and drawn herself in black crayon. No, I said, but it will be. Because some wars are worth fighting, even when your enemies are family. Especially then. The courthouse bathroom mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized. 3 hours into the emergency custody hearing, and my carefully constructed case was unraveling like a cheap sweater. I splashed water on my face, trying to wash away the image of Megan on the stand. Tears streaming as she described how I'd manipulated her during a vulnerable time. How I'd taken advantage of her anxiety to steal her daughter. The door creaked open. Mother stepped in, her face grim. They're calling Chloe next. My stomach lurched. They can't. She's 7, for God's sake. The judge granted their motion. They're claiming she needs to speak about the alienation. I gripped the sink until my knuckles went white. Outside, I could hear the muffled sounds of the courthouse, the casual indifference of a system about to traumatize a child. Where is she now? With David and Emma, Everly? Mother hesitated. Tom's lawyer has photos. What photos? She pulled out her phone, showing me images that made my blood freeze. Chloe at our house, crying during a nightmare. Chloe refusing to go with Megan during a supervised visit. Chloe clinging to me at the park. They're saying it proves I coached her. My voice sounded distant, hollow. That I taught her to fear them. Mrs. Harrison? A clerk appeared at the door. They're ready. The courtroom felt smaller than before, more suffocating. Megan and Tom sat with their lawyer, the picture of concerned parents. Their friends from the country club filled the gallery, a united front of privilege and judgment. David brought Chloe in, Emma trailing behind despite being told to wait outside. The girls' hands were clasped tight, neither willing to let go. The court calls Chloe Bennett, the judge announced. Chloe's eyes found mine, wide with terror. I wanted to grab her, run, protect her from this moment. Instead, I watched helplessly as she walked to the witness stand, her shoes barely making a sound on the polished floor. Tom's lawyer approached, all gentle smiles and grandfatherly concern. Chloe, sweetheart, I just have a few questions about your Aunt Everly. Objection. Our lawyer started, but the judge waved him down. Did your aunt ever tell you your mommy and daddy don't love you? Chloe's lower lip trembled. No. Did she ever say you shouldn't trust them? No. Then why don't you want to go home? Silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Chloe stared at her hands, then at Emma, then at me. Because, her voice was barely a whisper, because they forget me. The lawyer's smile never wavered. Forget you? At dance class, and school, and... Chloe's words tumbled out faster. And Liam's competitions, and when I'm hungry, and... Objection! Megan's lawyer stood. The child is clearly repeating coached responses. I have pictures, Chloe suddenly shouted, making everyone jump. In my notebook, the one with butterflies. My heart stopped. The notebook we'd never found, the one Megan claimed Chloe had lost months ago. What pictures, sweetie? Tom's lawyer asked indulgently. Of when they forget. I take them with Emma's old phone, When they leave me places. When they lock the. She hiccuped. When they lock the door so I don't bother Liam studying. The courtroom erupted. Megan's face went chalk white. Tom's lawyer scrambled to redirect, but Chloe wasn't finished. Emma showed me how to save them to the cloud, she said, her voice stronger. So they can't delete them like last time. I looked at my daughter, who met my gaze steadily. My 8-year-old had done what I couldn't, given Chloe a way to protect herself. Your Honor, our lawyer jumped in. We request an immediate review of this evidence. The judge peered at Chloe over her glasses. Young lady, do you have access to these photos now? Chloe nodded. Emma's mom put the password in my butterfly notebook, the one Mommy said I lost. The rubber band snapped. Megan burst into tears, but they weren't the careful, pretty tears from before. Tom's face had turned to stone. Their lawyer was frantically whispering to them, but all I could see was Chloe, 7 years old and braver than anyone in this room, finally telling her truth. The judge called a recess. As David led the girls out, Emma squeezed Chloe's hand and whispered something that made her almost smile. We weren't done. The photos still needed to be verified, statements taken, more battles fought. But watching my daughter lead her cousin to safety, I realized something. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what we do to others, but what we teach our children to do for themselves. The piano notes drifted through the school auditorium, hesitant at first, then gaining confidence. I stood in the shadows of the wings, watching Chloe's small fingers move across the keys, her face a study in concentration. 3 months since the custody hearing, 3 months of supervised visits and court-mandated family therapy. And now this, the elementary school talent show that Megan and Tom hadn't bothered to attend. Until now. I saw them slip in through the back doors, Liam trailing behind. They froze when they recognized the melody. Claire de Lune, the same piece Liam had abandoned after declaring it too basic for his talents. Chloe hadn't known they were coming. Neither had I, until Mother texted a warning. But there she sat, back straight, completely absorbed in the music she'd practiced for weeks in our living room. The final notes faded. Silence held for a heartbeat before the audience erupted in applause. Chloe's face lit up as she spotted Emma in the front row, beaming and clutching a bouquet of daisies. Then she saw Megan. I watched her shoulders tense, her smile faltering, but she stood, gave her careful bow just as she'd practiced, and walked off stage, right into Megan's path. That was... Megan's voice cracked. When did you learn to play like that? Chloe gripped the hem of her dress. Emma's taking lessons. She lets me practice with her. But you never showed any interest in music before? I did. Chloe's voice was so quiet I barely heard it. At Liam's recitals, I asked, but you said, we didn't think you could handle it, Tom cut in, with your challenges. I stepped forward, but Mother's hand caught my arm. Wait, she whispered. Chloe lifted her chin. I'm not challenged. I'm different. Aunt Everly says different isn't wrong. Honey, Megan reached for her, but Chloe stepped back. We only wanted what was best. No. The word rang clear and strong. You wanted what was easy. Liam pushed past his parents, thrust something at his sister. A card, hand-drawn with careful precision. I made this, for all your performances, the ones I missed. Chloe took it, her hands trembling. There was only this one. I know. He wouldn't meet her eyes. But I thought maybe there'd be more. Something shifted in Megan's face. She stared at her children, really looked at them, maybe for the first time. Chloe, we've been so wrong, Tom finished, his corporate mask cracking. We've been wrong. Yes, Chloe said simply, you have. Emma appeared with her daisies, positioning herself like a shield between Chloe and her parents. You were amazing. Want to get ice cream? Mom said we could. Chloe looked at her brother, then her parents, then at me. I nodded slightly. She swallowed hard. Can Liam come? The question hung in the air like a peace offering, or maybe a test. Please? Liam asked his parents. Not demanding, asking. Megan's carefully applied mascara left black tracks on her cheeks. Of course, if Aunt Everly agrees. I stepped forward finally, stood behind both girls. 3 conditions. They waited. First, therapy continues, individual and family. Second, no more comparing. Both children get to explore their own interests. And third, I met Megan's eyes. You admit in court that everything Chloe said was true? No more lies. The social damage, Tom started, is nothing compared to the damage you've already done to your children? Megan touched Tom's arm, silencing him. Yes, to everything. Good. I looked at the children, Chloe, Emma, Liam, standing together like stepping stones across a divide. Ice cream it is. As we walked toward the exit, Chloe's hand found mine. Did you know they were coming? No, sweetheart. Are they sorry for real this time? I watched Megan and Tom trailing behind, their perfect facade finally crumbling, revealing something that might, with enough work, become real parents. I think, I said carefully, they're just starting to understand what sorry means. Chloe nodded, wisdom beyond her years in her eyes. That's okay. I'm just starting to understand what brave means. She skipped ahead to join Emma and Liam, their chatter about ice cream flavors echoing in the empty hallway. Behind us, I heard Megan's muffled sob, and for the first time, it sounded genuine. Sometimes revenge isn't about making someone hurt. Sometimes it's about making them see. The sound of children laughing drifted through my kitchen window. I stood at the sink, watching Emma teach Chloe and Liam how to make soap bubbles with their hands. Simple joy, unmarred by expectations or comparisons. The doorbell rang. I dried my hands, knowing who it would be. Megan stood on my porch, clutching a manila envelope. 6 weeks of therapy had stripped away her perfect facade, leaving something raw but real underneath. The papers, she said, holding them out. Tom signed this morning. Joint custody, shared holidays, regular therapy, everything we'd fought for laid out in legal terms. Come in, I said. David just made coffee. She hesitated, watching the children through the window. They look happy? They are. I took the envelope. Especially since Liam started coming for weekends. Tom hates it, says I'm undermining everything we built. She touched the window glass. But Liam smiles now, actually smiles, not just when he wins something. In the backyard, Liam showed his sister how to catch bubbles without popping them. No trace of the pressure cooker prodigy remained in his relaxed shoulders, his genuine laugh. The country club dropped our membership, Megan said suddenly. Apparently, child neglect doesn't fit their image. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're right, I'm not. She turned from the window. I keep thinking about that voicemail. Chloe crying on your porch. I was at a wine tasting, showing off Liam's academic awards to potential investors for Tom's firm. Megan, let me finish. She pulled something from her purse, a crumpled drawing, the one with the black stick figure. I found this in my desk. I'd forgotten. No, I'd chosen to forget. Do you know what hurts most? I waited. She was right. The black figure. That's exactly how we made her feel. Invisible? Wrong. Her voice cracked. My baby girl, and I made her feel wrong. Through the window, Chloe's laughter rang out as she successfully caught a bubble. Look, I did it. Good job, sis, Liam called, genuine pride in his voice. Megan pressed her hand to her mouth. I touched her shoulder, feeling the tremors running through her. You can't undo it, I said quietly. But you can do better now. How? After everything? By showing up, by seeing her, really seeing her, by letting Liam be a kid, not a trophy. I gestured to the backyard, by letting them both be exactly who they are. David appeared with coffee cups, reading the room with his usual perception. The kids could probably use some lemonade. Want to help me take it out, Megan? She wiped her eyes, nodded. Together they carried drinks outside where the children greeted them with soapy hands and genuine smiles. I stayed at the window, watching my sister navigate this new territory of genuine parenthood. She handed Chloe a glass, their fingers touching briefly. Not quite comfortable, not yet healed, but trying. Mother's words from months ago echoed in my mind. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people face themselves. Looking at my sister now, really looking, I saw someone facing her reflection for the first time. The carefully curated image of perfect motherhood had shattered, leaving space for something authentic to grow in its place. Chloe caught me watching and waved, her face glowing. Emma whispered something in her ear that made them both giggle. Liam, free from the weight of constant achievement, showed them how to make bigger bubbles by linking their hands together. I picked up the custody papers, scanning the final page where 4 signatures would soon formalize this new reality. Not a fairy tale ending, those don't exist in real families, but something better, a true beginning. Outside, my sister learned to laugh with her children instead of at them. David caught my eye through the window, raising his glass in a subtle toast. I touched the glass, feeling the warmth of the sun and the echo of children's laughter. Some victories don't look like winning. Sometimes they look like soap bubbles in sunlight, like siblings sharing secrets, like a mother learning to see her children clearly for the first time. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's restoration.